Hello, happy Sunday. How is everyone? How was your week? I think I got this all going without any technical glitches. I think. Let's see. For those of you new, because this is a new time zone for us, we go live once a week. We normally went live in the evenings on Sunday, but now that I'm West Coast, we have to find a new time. I'm not exactly sure this is it. One of the issues I've been having is finding guests. I've been trying to get guests for this time slot, and that hasn't been working either. So it may change. And then after last week, we went live, and I put so much in. Little secret. I really am an introvert. I know many people will think I'm an extrovert, but I'm not. So doing something like this takes my energy, which is a good thing. I love hanging out with you. But then I need to recharge. So last week after the show, I was tanked. So later at night works great because, it's at night, and after the show, I can just crash. And so we have to find that perfect time. We have a lot of viewers on different continents, and have to take that into consideration. And oh my gosh, I see Derek just asked, where's Dano? Which Dano is one of our loyal Invisible People family, live stream family, and he's in the UK. But also, if you are new, Addie and Derek are our chat moderators. Addie is no longer homeless, although I will argue because of recent events that she's housing insecure. Sorry, I was getting texts. I'm trying to I was texting back and forth with Jen and Soma. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to let me get this on here. And here we go. Oh, come on. Can't they? There's such a delay on YouTube. Oh my gosh, what a delay. Holy schmoly, what a delay. Oh, that's because I'm not doing this. The delay is here. So I just sent Jen and Soma a photo of the live stream, and in their defense, letting them know that I'm talking about them. And in their defense, they go out on Sundays at noon. So it's really hard for them to join us at 11 and then drive to their office where they meet with their volunteers to get everything ready to go out at 2:00. So it's been hard to get them to do the live stream. But we will at some point. And if you guys are open to it, maybe we'll just do one at a special time because they're special, and we're going to play around with times. I'm just letting you know up front, we're going to play around with times. So before I got that text, I was saying Addie and Derek are our chat moderators. Addie is formerly homeless. She's inside now, but she's had some recent events that I will say validate she's housing insecure. And Derek lives in a tent camp in Oakland. And we have to do something about that, meaning we need to end homelessness all over the United States. So yesterday I was out. You might have seen videos of Mona and Noah and Sunshine on this channel. I was visiting Street Watch does what they call a power up. Street Watch is a local volunteer-led organization, mostly advocacy for criminalization. We're going to touch on that in a second. But Street Watch does what they call power ups. So different communities around Los Angeles County. I don't know if they're in OC, but around Los Angeles County, they set up a table and they have these huge power banks, and homeless people come and charge their stuff. And when I say stuff, I literally mean stuff. For most of us, you probably think, okay, cell phone and battery pack, but it's pretty amazing to me what homeless people need electricity for. And I have to preface this in a way because if you live in an apartment in a home, you're probably plugging all kinds of things from electronic razors to vacuums to power tools, to stereos, to TVs, to coffee makers. You're plugging it all in someplace. So when you're living in a tent, so yesterday, it was interesting because there's a lot of Bluetooth speakers that people want charged because, they listen to music or, maybe the radio or podcasts or YouTube. YouTube is really huge in the homeless community. Imagine that you're sleeping in a tent under a bridge on a sidewalk or even in a homeless shelter. You don't have Netflix. That's a luxury, but YouTube is free. And I know there's a lot of homeless people or people even at risk of being homeless in our chat that watch every week. So I was, wow, Victoria. Oh my gosh. Yes. Victoria just says, well, she was in a shelter watching YouTube was, and you know what? A lot of what I have learned over the years about engaging with people with lived experience of homelessness or at risk of homelessness, I've stumbled on. Once we started doing these live streams 2 years ago, the amount of people in the chat that are homeless or at risk of being homeless or struggling with addiction and mental illness and needing help, it's something over the next couple of years, maybe even sooner, I would like to focus on figuring out a way more than the online support group we already do, how we can help people. But it really opened to my eyes and my mind and just how much homeless people watch YouTube. Anyways, I'm in this park yesterday, and I've visited the park often. And the amount of tents in that area were extremely visible. It seemed like there were more tents. And I asked the person at the event, who's a friend, his name is Matt, I adore him. I said, it looks like there's more tents. And he reminded me there's police action going on all around Los Angeles. And some, like what happened in Echo Park and more recently in Venice Beach, is very, very aggressive. And people have to go someplace. So the growth of homeless tents in this park was because of homeless tents being swept in other locations. So if you don't understand this, it's really, really important. So I'm going to repeat it. Criminalization of homelessness just moves people. Doesn't end homelessness. It's a waste of taxpayer money. It just moves people. Criminalization of homelessness is growing, and the eviction moratorium is being lifted, which means homelessness is growing. So if we just keep pushing homelessness away to another community, and that community pushes them back, homelessness is going to get even more out of control than it already is. It is so stinking stupid. Criminalization is so stupid. However, the public supports criminalization because they're frustrated. They just want homeless people gone. And you think, okay, let's call the police, have the homeless people gone from my block. Well, homeless people, if you push them from your block, now, let me say, first off, they shouldn't be living on your block. They shouldn't be living on any block. They shouldn't be in front of schools and parks, in the woods, wherever. Nobody in this great country of ours should live without adequate housing. But people need someplace to go. And until they have someplace to go, they live outside. The solution is providing adequate housing to people. But we don't do that. So instead, here in Los Angeles, I don't know what it was last year. I'm sure it grew. But the year before, Los Angeles spent 30... Los Angeles spent $30 million on sweeping homelessness, moving it around. That's 15 shelters. So maybe 13, maybe 12. The cost of the bridge shelters, and shelters aren't a solution, but the cost of the bridge shelters is around $2.5 million average that I have seen. So 15 million would create at least 12 shelters. I mean, 30 million would create at least 12 shelters, but no, we still criminalize people. Anyways, I saw, hey, thank you, Anonymous, for the donation. Claire said something. Claire was sharing about being abused when she is homeless, and my heart broke. So while I'm ranting, I have one eye on the chat room. Today I'm going up to Chatsworth. I was invited by a group that's in the Valley. I used to actually work in Chatsworth. A mutual, the West Valley mutual aid group. I've never gone out with them before. I think it's important. Well, all the mutual aid groups I think are important. What I do believe very strongly, if you work in homeless services or if you're a politician and you're peeping this video, all of us need to really engage the power of mutual aid groups. A few years back thought faith-based groups would step up because faith-based groups don't have the bureaucracy government groups and nonprofits have. So I thought faith-based groups would be more nimble and step up and work to end homelessness, but that's never going to happen. Faith-based groups are just stuck on outdated religious programming. And so what I have seen that's really awesome, and you can check it out on this channel, K-Town for All, SELA, the Street Watch Project, the Sidewalk Project, Wound Walk in OC. These are our mutual aid community action groups we have featured, and they're growing. There's people that are, plumbers and bakers and accountants and graphic artists, and they are fed up of seeing homeless people, and they are filled with compassion and have decided to take action, tangible actions to help their neighbors. So typically, and talk about being stupid, typically the homeless sector doesn't want people going out and handing out blankets and sleeping bags and tents. They think it's enabling people, which is stupid, because if somebody is outside, right, and there is no house, they're outside sleeping outside. What is this? Why am I pointing at my hand? That doesn't make sense. Anyways, what people are sleeping outside, whether it be a park or whatever, in a tent, they're doing it because there's no housing. They're doing it because service providers, mostly because politicians haven't given them the tools to end homelessness. It's not necessarily their fault, but the thinking that, oh, we can't help them, so nobody else should, is insane. People are dying outside. More people are dying outside than ever before, and homelessness is growing. So my point in all this is that the service providers, the government agencies, and the nonprofit agencies should figure out a way to engage with these local mutual aid groups and local community action groups to empower them to fill the gaps. They do things that service providers can't, and they're much more nimble. But if we work together and help them, create this, they call it a gap in the safety net. And if you can name it, that means you can fix it. And mutual aid groups are a way to fix it. We should figure out a way of integrating mutual aid groups in the homeless services system, a community-wide system. But to do that, funders, nothing in the nonprofit sector happens unless a fund. I was doing this, now I'm doing this. This is top down. I was going to go top down. I'm like tossing salad today. I do not know what's up. But funders, and that could be the government, that could be foundations, dictate homeless services. So if a funder does not support integrating mutual aid groups, it's never going to happen. So if you're a funder and you're peeping this, please stop doing what we've always been doing, because it's not working. There is not a city in America. If somebody in this chat room says, I need help, either at risk of being homeless or currently homeless, and they're in any city in America, I can't give them a referral that I know they will actually get help. What I'm trying to say is there's no place in America that a homeless person or a person at risk of homelessness can call to get help, where they're actually going to get help. What they do is get put on waiting lists, and most people are on waiting lists for years. If I have something urgent going on and I have a crisis and I'm a housed person, normally it maybe take one or two referrals to a doctor or a mechanic or a furniture repair person or a TV repair person or an internet service provider or whatever my need is. It takes one or two referrals and I get the help I need. If you're homeless, the saying is shit out of luck because you just get put in this endless loop of bureaucracy, and we need to fix that. Anyways, so updates. Couple of things. The time on this might change. I'm really looking at producing more of a produced show. I know you guys, we're not going to lose the authenticity of the community that we've built here on the live streams. But I really want to all the way around. So now that I'm back in Los Angeles, I'm trying to find editors, content creators, producers, both long form and short form, to start building up content. Those of you guys know Invisible People mostly from YouTube, but we're also on Google News and Apple News. If you're an iPhone, open up your news app, type in homelessness or Invisible People. We're there 5 days, 7 days a week. If you're an Android, open up your news app. We're there 5 to 7 days a week. And it runs completely independent of me. I could die tomorrow and our news still goes. So I'm trying to build our video side the same way. No organization. I'm not going anyplace, and we're going to continue doing what you guys love. But no organization should be dependent on just one person. And one thing that living with my mom and taking care of her and the hit that Invisible People took showed me is that I need to build up the video side. There's two reasons. Video is the primary way that people communicate. It's the best way to educate the public on homelessness. We need to grow that. That is in the process. It's going to take me a little bit. I have to find the right people. I have to find the right strategy, but we are going to knock it out of the house, grow this channel. Second, we have to do it in a way where I'm still here, but there's going to be other content that I am not the primary host. We started a little bit with our news content. I know some of you didn't like that. The mini documentaries are another example where they're stories on our channel. They're powerful stories, but they don't feature me. And I'm trying to grow that because Invisible People is a nonprofit. Unlike other YouTube channels, we really are a nonprofit working to end homelessness, to solve homelessness, to educate the public, to change policies, to really, fix the affordable housing crisis and to gain more support to help end homelessness, which is why we do stories like the Sidewalk Project with Jen and Zoma. Those are stories that nobody else is telling. We try not to tell stories that like an organization has money. So nonprofits, large nonprofits have huge marketing budgets, but they normally tell stories that aren't very authentic or they're spun for fundraising. So the niche that Invisible People or the Void or our focus is to tell stories that nobody else is telling, or like in the case of the Sidewalk Project with Jen and Soma, it's an important topic. However, they don't have the money to produce a video on what they do. So that's where we come in. And it's not just an LA thing. I got to figure out how to make it national. We just brought on a COO, a chief operating officer. She is virtual. She's going to help me grow Invisible People. And over the next couple of weeks, months, you're going to hopefully see some changes as we start introducing new types of content, more produced content, and first person videos. To be quite honest, I know you guys love the first person videos, but they're not as easy to get as they were 5 years ago. Derek can attest to this. Derek and I were in Oakland. Derek's actually homeless in a tent camp, and we went out 4 or 5 days and there were no stories. And, whether it be people are more scared, maybe, who knows, but it's been harder to get the first person stories. We're going to still continue. That is a foundation of our work. It's where the most impact, I believe. It's what you guys resonate with. It's just, I've been out the last 3 days, and I met lots of wonderful people. I met a gentleman last night. So I'm walking downtown, and we all love YouTube, right? We're on YouTube. I'm live streaming on YouTube. And one thing I have found on YouTube, and I don't know how I got back into this. For those of you know, I'm used to play drums. I'm just in awe of some of the drummers these days. Many of them are female that are just really, really amazing. It's so amazing that the music industry, and especially drumming, has opened the door for so many female percussionists. So YouTube's feeding me, all this drum content. And I'm literally last night walking downtown Los Angeles, watching some drum videos on my phone. And I run into a older homeless man, probably my age, really clean cut, African-American, sitting on a bench, and he's listening to jazz on his phone. And the drummer I was listening to was Steve Gads from Tower of Power. Many of you may or may not know. Really great drummer. Tower of Power is a really great band. So we first started talking about music. And then we moved on. He has been homeless for 2.5 years since he got out of prison. There's no support for people that you used to, when you got out of jail, they'd give you $200 and a bus ticket. Now they don't give you anything. And he's trying to stay sober. And I was able to talk about, hey, I have 26 years sober now. And it was really a great experience. Well, not experience. It was a wonderful moment connecting with somebody on the streets. I hope I see him again. It's why I moved downtown. It's one of the main reasons I moved downtown was to connect with homeless people. So that is where we are going. Donations have been down, I believe, partly because of this sidewalk project. But I knew that going in. I knew we were going to take a hit. We dropped in subscribers. We dropped in donations because we posted a video about sex workers and harm reduction. And I was talking to somebody last night and even this morning about, so if you look at the thumbnail of the sidewalk project, you have Jenna and Soma on either side of Rosa. Rosa has tattoos on her face. People are judging her because she has tattoos on her face. Rosa has been outside homeless since she was 11 years old. Could you imagine being 11 years old, boy or girl, outside homeless? It happens far too often. Really quickly, pimps or gangs will turn out young children, and 11 years old, you're a child, to make money. Now, I don't know if that's what happened to Rosa, but I assume because of her tats that over the years, she has had to do a bunch of things that we think are horrible to survive. And I know I ranted last time, and we're not, Eddie, I promise, no politics, no religion, right? It's upsetting to me that people are so judgmental over sex workers who are often out selling their bodies for survival sex. I mean, there are different, trafficking happens. Trafficking is horrible. It's extremely, extremely horrible. Here's a little nugget. So, only 2%. So, like, Wichita, Kansas is the 5th originating city for human trafficking. They come in and they pick up the little girls and boys and they take them to Portland, or they take them to Los Angeles, or they take them to San Francisco. 2% of the funding and support to end trafficking goes to fighting domestic trafficking of homeless youth. Only 2%. So the trafficking of girls and boys from Eastern Europe and Colombia and other countries is horrible. I'm not saying it's not horrible, but it's as if this country does not care about homeless girls and boys that are American youth. Anyways, there's trafficking, and then there's men and women who make the conscious decision that that's going to be their job. Whatever reason they go into it, that's their choice. Then there's sex workers who are selling sex as a means of survival. It happens more often than not. And instead of judging this person as a sex worker, you have to go back and figure out what it is. Is it poverty? They don't have an income? Is it they were raped as a child? Is it that it's freezing outside and they don't have any place to sleep, so that they're going to, do for survival sex to get inside someplace warm? And that's why it's so upsetting. Now, I knew going into producing the story on harm reduction and sex work that we would lose support. I knew it. I just knew it. Invisible People was created to tell these stories because nobody else is telling these stories. Even though support dropped, there'll be new support coming. There's 4 topics Invisible People focuses on. Eviction. Eviction right now is the biggest crisis. Criminalization. Criminalization is growing. It's a massive crisis. Drug addiction with an emphasis on harm reduction. I'm going to state right up front, we're going to try to do more on harm reduction. Why? Because harm reduction saves lives. Why? Because there's this stigma around addicts that we need to get over. People just they miss the typical thing that somebody sees a homeless person in front of their tent smoking crack. They automatically think, well, that person should go into drug treatment. Insurance only pays for 28 days or less. And then without housing, that person is then exited back to homelessness. And homelessness creates trauma that you want to escape from. So the person starts drinking and using again. It's a mess. This thinking of we need more treatment, and we do need more treatment, but without housing, it doesn't end homelessness. People don't get better. Nobody. It's nearly impossible, especially for a severe drug addict like myself, to get sober in 28 days. I went to college to be a drug and alcohol counselor, and I remember that alcohol alone stays in your body for 128 days. Hard drugs longer, and then there's the emotional addiction, spiritual addiction, physical addiction. 28 days doesn't do it. But most people say, oh, we don't need housing. We just need to throw them into a recovery center for 28 days. What? That doesn't do anything. So we're going to focus on more stories of addiction with an emphasis on harm reduction. And we're going to do a lot of different stories. These are just not the top 4, but rounding it off is mental illness. These stories are not always easy to tell. For example, I was having a conversation with Jen and Samba this morning about getting more stories from sex workers that are out walking Skid Row. Well, it could be dangerous for them. So we have to figure out ways of telling their stories, but keeping their identities. I know there's other channels that just put sex workers out for everybody to see, but that is not what we do. Our primary goal is nobody gets hurt. If somebody gets hurt, it's why there's maybe 2 or 3 domestic violence stories on this channel. Domestic violence, often the person committing the violence does so for extended periods of time, and going on YouTube talking about it just puts that woman or man at risk. So the only stories that we have put on this channel are stories where the person that was committing the violence is no longer around for whatever reason. There's no risk to the person. And those, I know I could walk out this building tomorrow or tonight or right now and share stories that would get a gazillion views, but they might put people at risk. And I'll never do that because this is not about views. Anyways, did I just rant for 40 minutes? Well, it wasn't like a vein popping rant now, was it? And we're up to 195. So it is coming back. It is coming back. What I mean by that is our past time, or the time that when I was in New York, was 8 o'clock Eastern time, which would have been 5 o'clock this time. And we're playing around finding new times. And, as 11 o'clock, this is our third 11 o'clock. And, it seems to be reaching more people. And I'm seeing some kind words in the chat. I've been really focusing on what's on my heart. And thank you. But now let me focus on the chat. How y'all doing? Hey, Maria. Yeah, we have protocols in place. that make sure, to the best of our ability, nobody gets hurt. Hey, Walter, I was thinking about you yesterday. Lady T is giving a purple heart for 2 p.m. EST, so you like this time. Hey, Matthew, glad you're doing good. Electra, I love that name. Hey, Swar. I talked about it earlier in the channel. I like that they're doing that. This week is going to be a little bit of an admin week. I got to take care of a bunch of stuff. We're trying to grow. Dino, is it that noticeable? I'll be honest with you guys. So my stuff arrived. I had two things that are damaged. One is my couch. I got to figure out how to repair it. But I'm starting to create a home here. My mom's home, I believe we sold. And I've got to get my health better, but I can feel my emotions and my spirit, and I'm walking daily, and I believe things will get much better. But with it is fear. So like I bought a new bed. I had to buy a new bed, and I bought a new TV, and I got some, some stuff, and I'm formerly homeless. And every time I got stuff, I lose it. So I'm like almost petrified that, I'm getting stuff. I mean, soon, I don't know how. I live in one room. It's like one big loft. I'm buying some curtains to separate the bed area. But I have to figure out how to make like a live stream studio. So the carpet that I have for my electronic drums, I have not been able to, it just didn't fit in this room. So I'm waiting for a new carpet. And once the drums are up, I'm going to try to make more of a studio instead of you guys seeing the back of the kitchen. And this, where this, that's boxes of my pictures, frames and stuff. So well, thank you very much. I have a PO box. It's listed at the bottom of the website. If you want to send something that's, or if you, the best donation, the best housewarming gift is that a donation to Invisible People, either here on YouTube or on our website. Hey, houseless, not homeless. I'm not able to do other people's videos like that at this time. It's something I would like to explore. But right now I am not able to do that. Rana, thank you. I have you fooled. I'm really not that nice. I'm just an old fat guy with a bag of socks and a YouTube camera. Oh, I'm so sorry, Nick. Well, Dano, the acoustic drums, which I should sell, I have a box in the closet. The reason that I picked this particular loft was that it has closets. So those drums are in the closet. The other ones are electronic drums, so neighbors won't hear them. Well, Mark, I think hanging pictures does make it feel like home, but I don't know if you can hear. This room is really boomy. In fact, I'm on a glass table, so I think by posting pictures, and I might even get some soundproof panels. I'm sorry, Melka. Shannon, yes. So we're coming down to 13 minutes, and today has to be a hard stop because I am going to the Valley to go out with um, a group of volunteers. And being that it's a holiday weekend in Los Angeles traffic, I mean, yesterday I left early and I arrived 45 minutes late because of traffic. Hey, so and if I'm saying your name, wrong, please forgive me. I'd like to come out to Palm Springs and do some storytelling there. I mean, I've been to Palm Springs a bunch of times. The desert needs more attention. Houseless, not homeless. We do hire writers and we pay. It's not a whole lot, but we pay for people that are homeless or formerly homeless or housed to write, and we pay according to their talent. If you don't have skills writing, we can't publish your work. You have to have some, gone to college or have been writing. But on our Invisible People Twitter page is the email for where to send pitches. And if anybody here is a writer and you want to write about homelessness, especially if you are homeless and want to write about your own story, we'd love to hear from you. Ooh, Voiceless Media. Thank you for that reminder. The Valley is, I mean, gosh, what is the... It's 90. It's 94 here in Los Angeles. It means normally the Valley can be 10 degrees hotter, so it could be 104. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Matthew. So Shadeline, wonderful name. I like, I don't know what they call it now. I think they changed it. The Relief Bus, City Relief is the one organization. The Coalition for Homelessness is a good place to start in New York. They're a wonderful organization. Humans.New York City is another place to start. I think that's the website. Josh, who runs that, is great. And there's a Upper West Side organization. I know these are Manhattan. The Relief Bus, City Relief, I forget the name. They just recently changed their name. They go to the boroughs too. But connecting to one, here's my recommendation to any of you that are volunteering is go try someplace. And if it's not a fit, don't give up. Oh gosh, I hate volunteering. The homeless sector is just crazy. Because what happens is all of a sudden you find yourself in a kitchen with, 10 brooms and 10 people and nothing to do. Or they just have you make hygiene kits over and over. And it's often that homeless services just does not have a good volunteer program. So my suggestion is if you go to someplace and it's not a fit, try someplace else. Keep going until you find that homeless services, that nonprofit that's a fit. Thank you, Allison. We have to grow this channel. This channel should have hit 1 million subscribers in March. It's really taking a hit because there's a lot of different reasons. Partly the algorithm changed, but I take responsibility. I needed to get out of my mom's house, and I had to, for the first time, I was thinking about this yesterday. I've worked on invisible people now for 12 years. It's only since May of this year where I've been compensated. I rarely took any time for myself ever. And this is the first time. Now, I wish it was vacation in Hawaii or something, but this is the first time that I've actually taken time for myself. And that was to get mom's house ready and get out of here. And it was just emotionally tired. And I'm trying to get back to normal. Okay, folks, it is 1:53. I really have to run if I'm going to meet this group of volunteers at 1 o'clock because I have stuff that I have to prepare before I run out the door. Thank you. Thank you for spending another hour with me. I do not take it lightly, and I'm so honored that you would spend an hour with me every week. Always open to your feedback and suggestions. Easiest way to reach me is on Twitter at Hardly Normal. But also I try to read the community tabs quite often. Charlie's somebody I got to go visit. I haven't visited Charlie in a long time, partly because I've been coming to LA and there's this thing called the coronavirus. Dude, get vaccinated. Wear a mask, please, people. We got to stop this thing. We got to get back to some kind of normalcy. Anyways, I am honored you guys all spend an hour. I am deeply honored that Addie and Derek take time out of their week to moderate the chat. And I am grateful for everybody that donates. I'm grateful for everybody that has subscribed and shares Invisible People content. I honestly believe we're at the beginning. I bet it took me 12 years to get here, but now we're at the beginning, and I just got to figure out how to navigate this for the most impact to help end homelessness. Everything's changed. The world changes. The one thing that we can guarantee is change. Invisible People has changed. I've changed. You changed. And it's time for me to reinvent a new Invisible People. I did it 2 years ago when we started journalism, and now I have to do it on this YouTube channel. It's a huge responsibility, and I'm up for it. And only because you guys support this work. And I am grateful for that. So on all that, follow me on the socials. I'm going to go out and hang out with a bunch of volunteers in the San Fernando Valley, way up in Chatsworth. In fact, I don't know if you remember Rita. Rita actually ran for the neighborhood council as she was homeless. She's currently in Project Room Key, which is a hotel room. And you guys all just reminded me, or just talking about it reminded me, I have to text Rita. So if I'm driving to the valley, I should at least say hello to Rita while I'm there. So, hey, everybody. Thank you for spending an hour. Thank you, Eddie and Derek, for moderating. And I will see you next week.